Hey, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about the full moon in Cancer on December 26th, 2023 at 4:33 p.m. Pacific time. Please, if you are not in the Pacific, adjust for your time and your location. This full moon in Cancer is really rounding out 2023 um, because it's going to play back to themes that we had when we had the eclipse on October 28th. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about this full moon, and then I'm going to go back and show you the chart of the eclipse back in October and how they relate to one another and how the planets are interacting and the conversations are having. So let's jump right in here. I'm going to click on the the sun here. So the sun is in Capricorn. Whenever there's a full moon, there is the brightest phase of the moon. There's an illumination, a culmination, something that comes to some sort of conclusion. And oftentimes, this can happen on the interior versus the in the outer world. Hence, the moon, our emotions, our intuition, our ability to self nurture and care. The moon is pivotal to our feeling loved, feeling a sense of connection and at home, and especially when a full moon is in the sign of Cancer. So here we have this at 4 minutes, I'm sorry, 4 degrees, 58 minutes. And I don't personally like to round up because I think everything has a bit of a significance. And when I look at this chart of the full moon and I see this moon right on the ascendant of the day in the first house, I think it's an illumination about how I self-care. The fourth degree is the Cancerian degree. And this is why I don't like to round up. I also think that within this illumination, that there's something about the self that is being birthed within each and every one of us that is walking a path of intentional awareness. I don't like to use higher consciousness because it feels kind of judgy. I prefer the word awareness and intention because it's a co-creating vibration for me. So here on the day of this full moon, where we have the sun in Capricorn, where Capricorn is building, Capricorn is practical, Capricorn is uh, disciplined and has ambition and is a sign of leadership. And here we have the moon, which frankly is also a sign of leadership if we think about it, because it rules the mother. And the mother is known as, the heart of the home. I think that that would be her place of rulership. So here we see her having an awareness that is supported by the sun's sextile to Saturn, which is the natural ruler of Capricorn. And then the sun is making a trine aspect to Jupiter that's retrograde at 5 degrees. And Jupiter is super powerful right now because Jupiter has been stationed at 5 degrees for quite some time, basically going to spend a full month at 5 degrees because once it goes direct, it doesn't move very quickly. And when a planet is stationed in the sky, it's like it's standing firmly within that position. So here, this is a lot for me about not only my belief system. Traditionally, Jupiter rules wealth, it rules foreign people, foreign ideas, the Supreme Court, it rules religion, but it also rules business and commerce and branding and publishing and marketing. And it's traveling through a sign that is exercising, or is focused on my skills, Taurus, using my skills to create security for myself, to create a sense of flow with my resources. I like to use the word resources rather than money because money is a trigger word for a lot of people and it will limit you. And Jupiter is all about expansion. So as Jupiter's been retrograding in Taurus, it's been reviewing its beliefs about, how much do I have value to myself? How much do I trust my skills, my voice out in the world? The other thing that's very interesting about this connection is that the traditionally Taurus is the second house from the fourth house. So while the fourth house rules our family experience and how it molded our self-worth, we see that reflected, that self-worth reflected in Venus ruling Taurus here, having the relationship with my skills, with my money, with my talents, with my, even how sometimes a challenging history can be very compelling and move us forward. So this full moon feels very favorable to me for realizations, for claiming my space, for offering me opportunities to expand upon where I have been before. And that seems accentuated to me because I see a sextile here to Saturn. Saturn is traveling through the sign of delusion, Pisces, a sign of running away and escaping. And I feel like this sextile is no longer wanting to escape, but to rather transform this into wisdom, to garnish the reward that Saturn has to offer as a result of the hard work that's been done during this period of time of illumination. This whole year of 2023 has been a year focused on looking at things from a more intellectual kind of perception. And this is not based on the human structure of intellect, but within our own logic and reason and balance within our own personal lives. So I hope that made sense. Now we see also the sun is making a square and a half to Uranus. Uranus is also retrograde. And I think this is kind of significant because it's at the Libra degree. So there's a challenge for seeing balance through right now. There could be some disruption. There could initially be a sense of uncomfortableness with the illumination that comes through this full moon. And I want to offer you this idea because wherever Cancer is in your personal chart is where that review will probably take place, or the illumination, or the epiphany, or the inspired idea. I'm going to click off the sun real quickly, and I'm going to click on the moon. Now we see the moon is making a trine aspect to Saturn. We saw the sun making the sextile, and here now the moon is making a sextile to Jupiter. So this is like, feels like interlocking pieces where the moon is cooperating with Saturn, which rules my history, my history. And also Pisces is a very creative sign. It rules music, it rules dance and poetry and film and filmography and fanciful things, movies like Avatar and really kind of Disney, things like that. So here now we see Saturn giving us some legs. Saturn has just recently got out of retrograde and got a little steam moving back through Pisces. And here I think this favorable aspect to the moon is where I start to see and transform my story into wisdom and also my own sense of emotional tenacity to persevere for my dreams. And Jupiter here, making a sextile, is giving me this feeling that I can do it. And I want to offer it this way because I'm really kind of thinking that in the sign of Taurus, I'm building something for myself. I could be building a platform. I could be building a career of some kind, but I'm using my skills to create wealth and expansion and an awareness of that. So I think this is really powerful. Now, because I think this is also important, while all that's happening during this full moon, we see Mercury retrograding over the galactic center. It's the galactic center is at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's been an opportunity for downloads, for inspired ideas through a review of some kind, through a revisit. We see this also. Mercury is making a favorable aspect to Eris. Now, Eris is the little sister of Mars. Mars is conjunct Mercury here. So this is really about, kind of looking in a new direction, going in trying things in a new way or a different way, or contemplating them, planning them out. Eris is an interesting point because she has been in Aries for most of the people on the planet's lives. She takes like over 100 years to go through a sign. But the significance of her now is that she's traveling with the North Node. And the North Node in Aries is stretching for me to be an individual, to pioneer. And Aries is ruled by Mars. So this aspect from Mercury during the full moon and Mars feels like this is where my illumination comes in. This is where the epiphany comes in. This is Mercury rules our childhood. Mercury rules our siblings and our cousins. And then Jupiter is the Lord of Sagittarius. So we see Jupiter making an aspect to the moon that's giving me an expansion of some kind based on integrating my experience, not trying to release it or forget about it or be incensed by it, but rather just releasing it. And that, I think, is evidenced by Mercury's exact square to Neptune, because sometimes, we identify ourselves very much with our journey in life. And whether the journey was pleasant or unpleasant, we seem to focus on the things that are more challenging. And here, I think this is where we look for the spirituality within our experience, and where Mars is literally tasking us to be brave in how we're thinking. And if we're telling the same story over and over again, how can we expect Jupiter to bring a new foreign experience within our human dynamic? And I say that because Jupiter rules the angelic realm. It rules the connection to the divine. So I think this is a super, super powerful full moon, very powerful. And I'm focused when I look at the moon here, especially since it's in the first house at the time of the exact time of the moon being its fullest. I think that this is about finding the wisdom in self-care, self-nurturing, seeing the best in ourselves, and how that teaches those that we love. See Mercury over here in sixth house of service. It teaches them that the importance of self-care as a way of performing balance or providing balance for us in our lives, loving ourselves as much as we love others. Now, let's go to the eclipse day back in October, when the eclipse was at 5 degrees of Taurus. This is significant because this is where Jupiter is right now. And we see Jupiter was retrograding. This is a significant degree for me because the 11th degree represents the master number of thought. And when I think of mastering something, I don't think that I have it licked. I don't think I know everything. What I think the mastering aspect is understanding the roller coaster ride of gaining a certain awareness and how that then leads to another awareness. Because eclipses always bring in fated events. And in this particular dynamic where the sun is in Scorpio, Scorpio rules our deepest psychology, how we were affected in our childhood. There's Mercury and there's Mars. And Mercury and Mars were traveling through Scorpio for quite some time. And, to those that have been walking sort of an earthly path, a lot of war of words, arguing in the neighborhood, road rage. But at the same time, those of us that are stretching and seeking and intending for awareness can see that our thoughts can sometimes be justified in that we've been done wrong, but do they serve our future? And that's what I think this eclipse was bringing into focus, because this is about expansion of my thoughts. And here Jupiter is in exact opposition to Mars, where Mars wants to be pissed off. Mars is in the sign of its rulership. It's like, look, this is what happened to me. This is how people didn't listen to me. This is how people asserted their power over me. And I didn't like it. And they didn't listen to me and they disrespected me. And here I am in my own house. And Jupiter's like, I understand that, but let's get past that by expanding the opportunities that experience gave you. Because now Mars is learning how to master an intuitive energy, how to look at his mind and his self-talk and have it support his endeavors versus him just being the warrior that runs through everything all harsh and nasty. People don't give enough credit for Mars as the hero, and how much, instinct and kind of like, sometimes I think that being a hero is not always being smart, because you're running into danger to save someone else's life. And oftentimes, if this is your job, you don't even know the person. So I think that Mars, it's time to focus on the better side of Mars, on what Mars has to offer in the way of bravery. And I think if we acknowledged Mars a little more, it wouldn't be so pissed off. So I think this eclipse is really relevant to what's happening during this full moon. Something's coming to fruition, something's coming into my awareness that's going to support me moving forward and understanding. Here's the sun making an aspect to Saturn retrograde back in October. And this is, this is an egress or an ingress. And in that, it's like a new beginning, a fresh energy. And this is Saturn having seen this degree for the second time. So now Saturn is sort of moved out any illusions, any feelings that I don't have power. The sun is powerful. It rules the zodiac. It is our ego assertion. And here it's making a trine as this planet Saturn will move forward. So I think we see, pardon me while I change charts again. Now we see Saturn is at 2 degrees. So Saturn has been taking its time since October, reviewing, what works, what doesn't work, where I want to build again, how I want to look at my dreams. And that eclipse was supporting the awareness of where I might have been feeling a sense of looking too far behind me in what wasn't working, or how I was done wrong, or how I didn't feel like I succeeded. And now I have a real opportunity to trust a more intuitive knowing within myself. This is what Jupiter is offering the moon at this eclipse. The moon is also making an interesting aspect to Venus, because this is again a square and a half. And Venus, rules Taurus. So here in Virgo, she's like, wait, I want to know where my money's coming from. And this eclipse was tasking us to believe in a bigger story. And the bigger story is this: there are divine laws of this universe, which is why I'm so excited about the Shapley cluster and the points within it, because it's a law of attraction thing. As you focus on something, you draw it to it. And through science, we see this reflected in this cluster. So as we expand our beliefs in our own abilities, in our ability to make money through a business that is close to our heart, again, here's that 5th degree, the Leo degree, the degree that the sun rules. So I think this is a very powerful, this eclipse ushered in an awareness of some kind that was giving us an opportunity that during this now full moon to truly take advantage of those points that we had, the points that we had in our brain, in our heart, in our emotional body, in our intuitive body. We often say that hindsight is 2020, or sometimes we'll say, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. I think this full moon on the 26th could very well, the day after Christmas, bring in illumination about your family that, rather than criticizes, judges them, or puts them in a place that is, bringing up some of maybe the sad story, we have an opportunity so wonderful between Jupiter here and Saturn to extract, again, wisdom, your own self, motivating, inspired self-talk, and your awareness of that will give meaning to what has happened. I always say that the dark spots in our life make the color pop. And I think that's what a good part of what this full moon has to offer us. Because whenever a planet is in Capricorn, it's sort of initially tasked with following, being a leader to the government, the authority that is within our world. I'm in the United States, so we have varying sanctions of government, from our, literal government to our employers to people who hold dominion over us. So this is now about how am I going to align with, what is expected in the material world and what is absolutely necessary to me in my emotional and interior world. And as we look at this favorable aspect, here to Saturn, building something new, something dreamy, something whimsical. And it's not about quick action. And that's kind of where I go back to this Mars and Mercury thing, because I think here, well, Mars is always going to want to move quickly. Now I think Mars wants to move quickly, but in a way that is not reactive. It's intentional. So Mars is learning where to put the gas on and where to put the gas off, when he's aligned to his thoughts and when he's in his pattern. And he's willing to sort of realize that this is a back and forth sort of energy where sometimes unconscious things will catch up with him, unconscious things represented by Neptune up here. But at the same time, each one will have a pearl or an illumination of where the focus and how I'm thinking, what I'm speaking, who I'm interacting with. Am I in my habit? Am I playing to an old story of my childhood? I mean, Mercury rules so many things in our life. So I think that this is going to be a real interesting way to round out the year. Jupiter will turn direct on the 31st here in the Pacific time zone. So we'll start the year off with Jupiter moving forward, but stationed, and we will see Mercury late in the day in the Pacific time zone around 7:15 move forward again. Mercury's going to, over this next period of time, get down to 22 degrees. And then as Mercury moves direct again and goes over that galactic center, there'll be another opportunity to really anchor in that connection to spirit, your ability to have a communication. Literally, like, feel like you can ask the divine a question, and through your trust and your innovative way of thinking, you will and ask for signs 3 times. That's what I did in the beginning, and it really helped me not think I was imagining things. So I think this is an exciting time. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. And if you're watching this before Christmas, happy or whatever, if it's Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, Boxing Day, if you don't celebrate, may you just enjoy the end of the year in peace and harmony. Um, and I want to thank you all for listening to this. If you'd like to have a astrology chart done by me, I am available. You can reach out through my email. It's in the description. And please join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we do live readings. We do a tarot card and an angel reading for each one of the signs to get advice for traversing the week ahead's transits. And while we are off for the holiday, we will be back on January 7th. I believe that's the first Sunday of the year. All right, everybody, sending lots of love to you. Be safe, be intentional, be brave.